I do believe we can do it all, but maybe not all at the same time. There's seasons for things in your life. There's a season when you're working really hard. There's maybe a season you can take a rest.
I am looking for some guidance from you on what more you want to see from me.
The job that I chose, the career that I chose, supported the things in my life that I am passionate about.
So I think there's a component around building a relationship, and something that you and I have talked a lot about, which is something that we can offer to the people on our teams, is mentorship, and the value of not just seeking relationships up the chain of command, but how do we mentor the people around us? And I'd love to hear your perspective on mentorship and the value of that.
Very important. But I do want to distinguish, however, between mentorship and sponsorship. Those are two different things, related but separate. And it's very important to seek out a mentor early in your career. And the truth is, your mentor, it could be listening to the Jocko podcast. It could be, right, a mentor. It's best to find a real life person. It's best to find someone, if you want to pursue a long career in a particular industry, try to find someone in your industry. But a mentor can teach you a lot of things just about being a good employee, maybe not specifically your job. But a sponsor is that person who is going to talk about you and prop you up when you're not in the room. The sponsor is going to be the person that's looking for opportunities. And they're going to be the one that knows that you're good at your job, you're a hard worker, you follow through, you take care of the details, and when an opportunity comes up, they're going to speak your name in that room and say, hey, you know what? Jamie is the right person for this. We don't have to go anywhere else. Jamie's the one. So I think mentorship is very important. Finding a good mentor, really understand what a mentor-mentee relationship looks like. It's not just for you to show up for 30 minutes once every 2 weeks into one of your coworkers' offices and have that person, opine, right? You, as the mentee, you want to come in with tasks, questions. You want to drive that. You want to make it easy for your mentor, which actually makes me think about earlier today. So Micah was talking that she put down something I want to pick up. Hopefully that is the vernacular the kids use.
I think that was my generation.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike is saying that, but go for it.
Yes. So I loved that she started about, Gen Z and work-life balance and wanting, I want to get a raise, I want more money, and I love that. You have to advocate for yourself. But here's the trick. You have to make it easy for the decision maker to say yes, right? So I was the decision maker. People would come to me and say, Sarah, I want a raise. And I'm not kidding you. The times that the answers, I'm like, oh, okay. My daughter needs braces. I'm like, oh, that's going to be like, okay, let's work on this. Like maybe there's ways we can figure out how to get you an advance on your bonus. Like we're going to figure this out. But if you truly believe that you're adding corporate value, you have increased scope, maybe your salary is in fact out of market with where you live, you should go in, you schedule a meeting, you want to be prepared, you want to come with evidence, and you make it easy for me to say yes. Because if you come into my office and just say, I want a raise, what I'm hearing is, Sarah, I'm giving you a job. I want you to just do this task and figure out how to make it work for me. And I had a boss too. I had people I had to answer to. I had a busy day. So the best advice I would give for the young folks in the room, when you want something, work-life balance, a raise, anything in that kind of genre, make sure you do it from an evidence-based perspective so that when you go and have that conversation, you're making it easy for that person to say yes.
I also think that takes and requires some humility and ownership too. I was in a coaching call with a client and we were talking about this specific thing where she was feeling like, hey, I want more opportunities. I feel like I've been given a ceiling on this ladder and I want more and I deserve it, right? There's a sense of like, I deserve this. Look at all these things. And the way she was approaching that conversation with her leadership was, let me stack up all the things I'm doing to show you why I deserve this. And one of the things that I had her do as an exercise was to spend time really taking that honest self-assessment of actually the things that she recognizes she's not doing well. Because in the midst of all the things that you're doing well that you could show up and say, see, look at this, there's also a bunch of things that she recognized, yeah, I could see where they're hesitant because of this, or I could see that I don't do this very well, and I haven't really done a good job in this area. And how much more compelling is that if you go in to say, hey, I want to advocate for myself, but I also recognize that I need to get better at A, B, and C, and I'm going to be prioritizing these things. One of the tactics I used, and it wasn't for a raise, it wasn't even for a title change. It was just looking for Leif and Jocko to give me some feedback because I had felt, again, like I had hit a little bit of a ceiling of what my job was as director of operations. And I went to Jocko and Leif, and it wasn't even look at the resume of things I've done. It was, hey, I feel like at this point, I am looking for some guidance from you on what more you want to see from me. Where else can I support the mission? I feel like these things are going well. Jen has stepped up in this area. The team is advocating and running with this. What else do you want to see from me? And I got some incredible feedback from Jocko on what else he wanted to see from me. And it was a couple months later that he announced at a muster event the change of title and the promotion to COO and the honor of my life. But it took me coming to him with the earnest and honest, sincere question of, I want your feedback. What can I do better?
And you may find that you have a list of all of these things that you've done, but they don't actually align with the corporate initiatives.
Yes.
So it's like, great, you've done all these fabulous things, but they are not the things that the corporation values at this time. Now, you shouldn't get that far along that you're working on projects or side projects that are misaligned with the corporate mission or the corporate annual initiatives, right? You should be constantly seeking the kind of feedback that would prevent you from kind of getting derailed like that. But that is what I find too, is that sometimes there's just that misalignment of someone thinking, okay, I'm doing all of these things, right? And they may not understand that it really isn't an expansion of scope. It really isn't creating efficiencies. It may actually be causing some friction between sales and finance because they're running off kind of doing these things. So it's great to take initiative. I don't want to bang down any initiative. Keep that up, but make sure that you are touching base with your manager to make sure that it's going to align across the corporation.
Yeah, and I'd love to, for a lot of the women in here who have the ambition to climb the corporate ladder or to climb whatever ladder they're working on. Maybe it's a side hustle, maybe it's an entrepreneurial effort. But if you have that ambition in your career, you had mentioned you have 2 children.
Yep.
What was that like to balance the work and the home? Because I think that's something that we all deal with. And I know for myself, my husband travels every week, and on Mondays when he leaves to go to wherever he's going, he packs a bag and he walks out the door.
Yeah. Right.
When I came to the assembly, I packed a bag, but before I could walk out the door, I had to organize a dog sitter, and I had to make sure that my boys had rides. Yeah. It was Spirit Week for homecoming, so I got all their costumes and stuff laid out and situated and made sure their suits were hanging up and ready for the dance and all these other things that my husband never thinks about. And so I definitely think there's a difference, right? There's a difference.
There is a
not
difference.
Bad or not,
Right.
I don't have to feel resentful towards that, but different. So how did you balance sort of the home life and your career ambitions?
It also doesn't end. My father called me, I'm an elderly father, as I'm walking back, he calls me, he's like, where's the manual to the flashlight? I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you in like 30 minutes, right? So it never ends for us, and that's because we care, right? We care about our family being safe and secure and all those things. So, I definitely, my career started and right before my children were born. I was able to take a little bit of time, handful of months off when they were each born. Never had any help, never had a housekeeper, never did all of those things. If you're able to do it, do it. I think it was a little bit of ego of like, well, I don't need help. I don't need help. I'm Gen X. We don't need help. Like we take care of everything. It's all on lockdown. There will be no problems, right? And in retrospect, I definitely did myself a disservice. I do remember when my kids got to maybe high school age, when it was sports, and it was just like laundry and laundry and laundry. And
endless laundry. Oh my gosh.
Endless and smelly. And I remember just saying like, I suck at this. Like, I'm so bad at laundry. And you know what? I wasn't. I was really, really bad at the last 10%.
Yeah.
I was good at the first 90. I could get everything washed and it would be in baskets, and then I'd just have baskets everywhere. And then the kids would come and they'd grab things out of the basket, and then you're like, is it dirty? Is it clean? And now everything's
This is my
a mess.
life
But it
right
was,
now.
But you know what? It was only the last 10%.
Yeah.
So I did like a root cause analysis. I'm like, what is going wrong in this household? Who is in charge here? Oh, it's me.
You can tell she's in finance.
Yep. And so I called her my laundry fairy. I hired a local girl from a local college, and she came on Mondays and Fridays for 2 hours, and I would just leave her money, and she would fold laundry and put it away.
Oh my gosh.
And that's all it took. That's all it took.
Yeah.
And I was beating myself up for not being a good homemaker. I was beating myself up for not providing every single homemade meal or being at every single possible event. And I do believe we can do it all, but maybe not all at the same time, right? There's seasons for things in your life. There's a season when you're working really hard. There's maybe a season you can take a rest. There's a season when you can volunteer. And hopefully you get to a point where you're able to stack up some of those things so that you're living the life that you want on your own terms.
I love that.
Yeah.
And as we wrap, when we were prepping for this, we had a really cool conversation to
We did.
talk about your daughter. And I just want to share, I was very lucky. My mom also worked full time. Yeah. And, I'm always envious of the women who stay home with their kids. I think that's harder for sure.
100%.
Yes, and I'm
100%.
so impressed. Yep. And I was lucky to grow up and see my mom really care and be passionate about her work and really care about the work that she was doing. And it was always a really good example to me, and it made me want to go and do something in the world that had that kind of impact. And it was fun talking with you about some conversations you had with your own daughter leading into this session, and I'd love if you could share that story of that conversation.
Sure. But first, the work that your mother did, the work that my mother did. My mother was elected to county sheriff when she was the 6th woman in the history of the United States to be elected sheriff. So
Heck yeah.
Props to your mom.
Yeah. Props
to all those moms out there that made I was able to get my foot on the corporate ladder. So props to those women that came before us. So I did. My daughter's 31. She's climbing the corporate ladder. She's in that first decade right now. And she and her girlfriend were over, a bunch of her girlfriends were over, and we were all chatting. They're all climbing the corporate ladder. And I said, if you had an opportunity to ask me a question, just one-on-one, what would you ask? And my daughter looks up and she, regarding climbing the corporate ladder, she goes, I just want to know if it's worth it. And I said, now that's the question. That's the right question for all the women here in the room. A lot of you are probably thinking, is this worth it? I just don't know. And I said to her and her friends, I said, my knee-jerk reaction is yes. Yes, it's worth it. But maybe not for the reason you think that it is. It's not for the title. It's not to wrap up my personality and my ego and being the CFO, right? It's because the job that I chose, the career that I chose, supported the things in my life that I am passionate about, right? I didn't grow up like, I can't wait to do debits and credits. It's gonna be like, oh, financial statements does it for me. No. But I wanted to put my kids through college. That was very important to me. My parents put me through college, and I wanted to put my children through college. And so the work that I did supported the things that I was passionate about. And I was very fortunate. I had a fabulous career. I worked with great leaders. And even the ones that weren't great, I learned from. I learned what not to do, right? And there's value in that. So yes, it's worth it.
Wherever you're at on your ladder, whatever ladder you're on, or maybe it's a step stool, maybe you've gotten off that ladder, it's worth it. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your perspective. Love hearing what you have to say.